What's going on? Move the Mouse here, back in City Skylines. Let's play Season 10, Episode number 3. Happy Friday, everybody. And I want to dive right in, because there's just so much to do in this build, and eventually there will be very little time. Right now, it feels like we've got lots of time, but at some point, I'll want to start a new city, I'm sure. And I'd like to finish this one, so let's dive right in, drop in some of the stuff that we haven't talked about yet. And I've got a couple ideas for some fun little projects. But the first thing I want to do is drop in a cemetery, because we don't have one. And what kind of coverage do we have with this? Does this cover all of that residential area? Most of it. We could knock out just a couple businesses and kind of put it right here. Will it fit sideways? It won't. I got to remember to leave a little bit more space for my service blocks. So what if we did something like that? Let's go into zoning and dezone this little piece right here. In fact, since that's not moved in, we don't need something moving in right on top of the cemetery. You'll notice that we've got some power problems, and that's actually something that I want to talk about early on today as well. And we've recently unlocked, I think at 2,400 population, the advanced wind turbines. Now these work a lot like the standard wind turbines. They're a little more expensive, a little bit more upkeep per week, but they produce almost 3 times as much energy, 2 to 3 times depending on kind of where they're sitting. And for these, they actually sit in the water. So the best case scenario for a regular wind turbine is 8 megawatts of power, and depending on where you move, that can quickly drop to less and less, 0 over there. So with these go in the water. We can kind of put them in the same bubble of power, but that will give us an additional 20 megawatts of power. So that'll actually get us into the green pretty comfortably, I think. Once it starts spinning, there we go. So now we are going to be able to bump up more and more every time we need a little bit of extra power. We're going to be able to jump up and not have to play catch up as much. When we get to 7,500, that's my next favorite green option. That's a solar updraft tower, and that produces a ton. That produces 240 megawatts of power, so a lot more than these little wind turbines could be doing. Now, money is really tight this build, so I've done this trick before, but I'll just show you right now. We've got the most demand right now for residential. People want to move into the city, so let's take advantage of that. Let's actually provide some space for some more people to move in. We're not going to move anybody, any more roads, I don't think, down this way, so I'm not worried about moving anybody out if we zone right there. But we'll give a little bit of room to move people in. Maybe we'll do the same thing over here. I don't think we need a commercial pocket right there, so that should be fine. I also, I did a little thing. It was just to fill in this block with trees to help, one, the aesthetics, but 2, help absorb some of the noise coming from the commercial area over to the residents that live closest to that. But now that we've got a little bit of demand and a little bit of place for people to move into, we can go over to taxes. And this is a trick you can do every once in a while. You don't want to overuse it because it will definitely affect your city's growth negatively. In fact, it's going to tank it. But we can crank everything up to 29%. Now, ideally, you want to have good service coverage. You want people to be happy because they'll stay a little bit longer. But notice in the bottom right, we've got our overall population as well as how our population is changing week over week. So right now we're adding people to our town, but we're going to be losing them very soon. They're going to start complaining about taxes. There we go. But notice our budget is making more and more and more money. I'll let this run for a minute. Once our population growth goes negative, once we're losing population, we'll pause it, we'll undo the tax change, we'll let everything settle down. You don't want to use this too often though, because this will cause people to move out. It will affect the growth of your city. If they abandon their buildings, it will, reset level on some of those if you have to abandon them and bulldoze them and start over from scratch. So, okay, we're well into the negative while I was talking there. So let's go back into economy, taxes, and set this back down to 12%. It'll take it a second once we play. But we've made a decent chunk of change. A little bit of money, had some padding in there, so we can talk about some of the other things. Now, I turned on some policies, but I want to review those ones that I have turned on. Things like smoke detector distribution make a lot of sense for me. Cost a little bit of money, but significantly reduces the risk of fire. I don't believe it, because I have really bad luck with fires, but if it helps, then I'm turning it on. We're doing other things like recycling, and down here, recycle plastic. And basically what that does is that reduces garbage accumulation. Reduces tax income as well, but recycling plants don't have to work as hard. You don't have to drop in as many recycling plants. And with less plants means less trucks on the road, so that's a good thing. Recycled plastic takes that a step further, and now recycling centers work with an extra 20% efficiency. It does cost per recycling center per week, but I think it's a small uptick in price for an extra 20% of efficiency. A couple other things, or one other thing that I think we've turned on at this point is recreational use, because. But that's all for policies. Like, there's nothing too in-depth right now. They're going to add more and more as you start to unlock more of your city, but that's a pretty good start for us. Now, we have this kind of long strip here that is commercial on one side, trees on the other, separating between commercial and residential. What I thought we could do is something that we've just unlocked, and that is if we go over here to the Parks tab and Park Painting Tools, or Park Area Painting Tool, we can basically, I'm going to define this entire strip as a park. We've got people complaining about water down there. I don't think it's availability. Or I shouldn't say availability. It's not available to them because we didn't we didn't pass any pipes down here on this side of the street. So let's do that. But we are finally in a place where we actually need to add more water. So we'll put that right next door. We'll get that connected. That should be powered just fine. And then I didn't notice was sewage. Yeah, sewage is the same problem. So let's come over here. Let's drop in our second water treatment plant. What is this one? Eco inland water treatment plant. I hope that wasn't unlocked at the start. An eco-friendly alternative to the inland water treatment plant. This building process trades wastewater. Will be affected by ground pollution. Pollution 45 versus pollution 100. So little bit less pollution. Let's do this. Let's move this fire station first. Just for consistency. I'm going to put it way down on the end of the road because it honestly shouldn't make that much of a difference. In the coverage, back into water, advanced. That pollute less on the same footprint. How much money is that? 4,000? I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete that first one. And I'm going to drop in the eco version times 2. Processing wise, though, how does this do? 160,000 cubic meters per week. 60,000 cubic meters per week. Okay, so maybe we weren't ready for that. So 120. So that, having 3 of those is just a little more than having 1. So that certainly gets a lot more expensive to be eco-friendly. Being green is not cheap, and this is no exception. Extend that pipe all the way down there for the fire station, and we'll get that connected back in. And let's play, and let's see where our sewage treatment is at. Yeah, that's good enough. That has us plenty into the green. In fact, we could back down our budget if we wanted to, but I'm going to leave that. Eventually, people are going to be complaining about sewage probably before they complain about water. So, okay. Distractions. We painted a district over here, or a park area, and I'm going to use the small park paths. Small park gate, I should say. Sorry. But what we're going to do first is let's get a pause going. And let's get some park paths coming through here. I take it back. No, we're going to do the main gate first, because we're going to snap the paths to that anyways. And then we'll do other side gates. Now, can we get one tucked in here by the school? I'm going to do one right there. We'll do one on that block. We'll do one kind of in the middle, right here, where it looks like we can D-zone just one small building to get a footpath cutting through. So why don't we do that? We'll have kind of a way to enter the park on every side of the block. And we want them kind of in the middle of the block on the longer side. On the short side, if people have to walk, you know, across the street halfway down this little block to get to the park, that's not that big a deal. But we want to provide the people with more ways to ditch out of the zone and to cut through it. Because when they cut through it, one, they're using it as a pedestrian path, so less traffic, always a good thing. Now, I don't think... Okay, we could... we could cram that in there, I think. I mean, I guess we could do it. We're not going to have a fence on that side. But let's connect in the middle here. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of an extra square of zoning there so that we can kind of curve this around. And then just a couple more. We don't want too many. We don't want to blow our budget on gates, but we are doing that right now. We'll do the tree line path, sure. So let's come through here and connect these as best we can. I don't actually know if it's going to let... Oh, it will let us connect that. That's good. But does that still provide a park entrance there? That may not. So let's move this all the way down to the edge of this zoning. Reconnect this a little differently. Now we could have a little shop there, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna D-zone that one. And then let's see if we can get these other paths connected through. So close. We have to break that building and do that, unfortunately. We need another entrance somewhere over here. Glad I did that tax trick before I started this, because it is not cheap to have all these cut-throughs here. So we'll come to where the zone breaks, and then we'll kind of connect our path like that. We'll connect that footpath in, and then do we have... We don't have one on the top of this block. I want to do one here. This one's kind of a mess. We'll think about that one again later. We've got to cut through here. Then we've got to do some stuff through this zone. I'm not too worried about how this interacts with the zoning, because we're not zoning most of this block. There was one little click where it's going to let me curve it in there. We'll try and disrupt as little zoning as we have to. So how does this kind of work? Got a path over here, cuts through, comes by the high school, comes over here. So that might get some people walking around. We could, and we will clean this up a little bit. We'll see kind of where people need to get to. That tree is just a little bit on the large side there. Let's go ahead and play. Let's start making some money again, because we're hurting for cash. I'm going to be doing a lot of offline tax tricks. So now that you've seen that, if that was new to you, good thing to know. If not, you've probably seen it on the channel before. Hopefully known about it and done it yourself. Now we do have a park and some basic park objects that we've unlocked. It might be kind of cool over here by the high school. If we can squeeze it in, we can. So kind of get a little plaza right there. I think people can walk in from the outside sidewalk, but if not, they'll go in through the gate. And and go that way. But that should start populating with people. We have other things like the cafe, the info booth, the restrooms. We can kind of overall just make our park some little spots that people can enjoy. That side of the block is not wide enough, huh? That one's a little smaller, so maybe we'll do that. Which one is this? The info booth? I want to spread some of these around. And I think we've got, yeah, we've got a little bit more room over here. Oh, you can even snap that way, I guess, if we wanted to tighten things up a little bit. It's effectively the same without having to really tie in tight to that space. So can we do that with something like the restrooms over here? We could have snapped to one of these side paths like that. Let's come down here because we don't have anything on this side. Just a couple little buildings to give our park some value. And in fact, one of the things, level up already, park level 2. Thank you everybody for visiting. That's awesome. One of the things about parks, though, is it's going to help increase the land value around here, especially as that park levels up. You can also, we've unlocked various kind of pre-built parks, but then you've got some of the uniques that also are park objects, and you can drop these inside of other parks. So for example, we have Statue of Shopping. Let's do Plaza of the Dead somewhere over near our cemetery. If we can squeeze it in. We can't really because of the zoning there. It's just a little bit bigger than would allow us to squeeze in there. We kind of have to do that off center, I guess. You know what we could do? Let's do this. We'll have people kind of walk around. So we'll get this plaza kind of in the middle. Right there. Let's go back into parks. I think we can squeeze this in. Let me see. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Okay. And then we'll connect our path. We could curve it, I guess. Or not. That's too bad. We'll do that. We'll have people kind of walk around the plaza. Now, if we come over to our park and look at the level here, we've already got 800 visitors out of 2,500 for our next level. Attractiveness is at 900, and entertainment value until next level is 349 of 420. So we need to provide more entertainment. Basically, that's more buildings in the park. You could repeat structures that you've already dropped in. If we want to have multiple cafes, they'll all add a little bit, but ideally you want to try and kind of spread things out. Now, where we've got larger objects like this that won't quite fit, is that technically in the park zone? Now for that one, I could have flattened that out a little bit. We'll extend the park all the way down there so that we've got some extra space to play with. But yeah, it's a little bit lumpy. Some of these park objects you're going to want to flatten the terrain, smooth it out first. So break out your landscaping brush and do a level terrain, or at the very least smooth the terrain out a little bit before you drop it in there. You may have to break roads to make any real change, because the snapping tool or the smoothing tool won't smooth out too much by a road, but if there's a gap between the roads, it'll start to shift stuff around a little bit. But once objects are placed, it kind of locks that terrain in place. So do your smoothing before... Are we already out of power already? Do your smoothing before you drop too much stuff in. We are, man. Okay, so advanced wind turbine number 2. And we're getting them right on top of one another. But right away, we're out of money. So we've done some good things today, though. We've dropped in the park We put even actual unique buildings or other park objects inside of our park. Let's take a look at where we're at. I think those affect overall entertainment. So 428 entertainment in this park right now. What happens if we come over here and drop a park in the park? There's a dog park that's pretty cheap. There we go. So let's do that. Let's hit play. Let's go back to info views on our park. Huh. Okay, that does not affect, but unique buildings do. But either way, this also provides a cascading effect to the houses in the area. In fact, we can see houses over here. Somebody just leveled up. There we go. And as the building levels up, it'll actually change appearance. So if you like the look of a certain house, I think I mentioned this in the previous episode, come in, go into historical building and change that. As a building levels up, its visual appearance will not change. So for example, I hope I didn't miss it. There was one down here. Oh, I probably missed it. Was it all the way down this way? There was a Penny's here. I kind of wanted to save it. I think it's gone. I have to keep an eye out. Alright, well that's okay. It doesn't really matter. It's just good to know. If you like the look of certain buildings, make them historical. You could always bulldoze something and just keep bulldozing until the building you want moves in. It's kind of the long way around where we can't plop things on console like you can on PC. Now we've got a ton of demand, especially on the residential side, but I wanted to do something today. And before we finish, I want to swap out some of this built-in farm industry. I don't know how to say it. When you zone industry, you can then specialize in things like farming or forestry. In this case, we've done farming, and all the industry buildings that move in this area are farming specific. You'll get those actually should have animals kind of walking around in them like that. That also should have fences around it, but that's okay. So anyways, you get all these farming type buildings. They use a ton more water than regular industry, but they also don't pollute. They noise pollute. In fact, let's take a look at that. Noise pollution, we can see our commercial, our power, our industry is really bad, and our farming's also really bad. But from an actual pollution standpoint, the only things that are polluting right now are our recycling plants and our industry. Everything else, well, and our water treatment. But everything else is, you know, not causing any pollution. We want to keep that up with our industrial demand. And what I wanted to do over here, I got to edit these stoplights. They don't need to be stopping there, but they also aren't backing up that far, so it's not a concern just yet. But let's start to chip away at this and have an actual farming area coming through here. So one way that we can kind of control the flow of traffic, I want to break something. I want to do something here. I'm going to break, I don't know, 3 segments of road. And let's break, I don't know, 2 over here. And let's break that one. And let's do we have 2-lane highways? We do. We can just do a 3-lane highway. We'll keep it simple. And I'm going to do, kind of snap as close as I can here. I'm going to do a relatively large, I think I went 9 clicks on one of those. I did. It's alright. That is such a huge roundabout. I don't know if it needs to be that big, but it's going to help. So that was not connected at all. Let's... Should have thought about that before I disconnected my park here. Do something like that. That keeps the road close enough where that thinks it's connected. Do we have the highway pieces, so we could just do this. Upgrade highway straight tool. get the road connected pretty close. Maybe back here. Freeform on highway. Eventually we'll have an exit dumping out down here. So it's a little sloppy, but it helps us prepare for more traffic over here, which we're definitely going to get as we start to expand this. We're going to also think another highway exit at some point, either dropping it kind of into the middle of this farming triangle, sort of down this way, or where we've got this roundabout right now. And that could very well be the case. But let's direct some of this traffic off this roundabout. Let's come down, whoops, a little further than I wanted, one tick further than I wanted, and we'll just do a road back here, kind of off doing its own thing, because we're going to grid a farm back here, and it doesn't need to be built off anything but itself. You know, this is an established area over here on the side of the map, and all built up the way that it needed to be built, not kind of trying to squeeze itself into other parts of the town. That works, and then we will change direction. Change direction. Yeah, this is definitely a fix it later. We'll smooth this one out for final cinematics. We'll jump over to industries. We will paint an area. And see, this is right on the edge of the farming area. So the farming area is actually going to start to go back into that zone. That's plenty to get us started for now. Since this is a farming area, we'll do the farm building as soon as we can afford it. So let me do this. I'm gonna do the tax trick one more time so we can get started on this part of the build today. But then since money is so tight and I don't want to absolutely destroy my town's growth, we'll probably just start the real basics of this. I'll work up some money offline, and then we'll pick up here next week, kind of continue to expand from this industrial area. So taxes are 29% across the board, right? Yes. We'll do the same thing. We're not going to have as much padding here. We might have to move a lot of people out, unfortunately, because we don't have as much growth as we had before. We're only plus 18 right now. There's a good amount of demand, but people are going to start complaining pretty fast, and then there's not going to be as much room for us to pad that as people start to want to move out. But it will get us a little bit of money at least to get started on our farm today. Knock everything back down to 12%. Play, watch the problems go away. But we've got a little bit of money in the bank now, so we can at least get started here. That's 15,000 for the main farm building. It's going to go somewhere in this area. May as well bring it way down here. It doesn't really matter. But that unlocks a couple different things for us. So now we have the option for a, let's pause it, small crop field, a small fruit field, and a small animal pasture. Now, food versus, or fruit versus crops, doesn't really matter. The output is crops. So they output the same thing. It doesn't matter what you drop in, it's more the aesthetic appeal of what you're looking for. So if we want to do, let's do one crop field. We'll do one fruit field right next to that. And then we'll do a small animal pasture. Those produce animal products. Those are the two things that we're doing with farming. We're producing crops and we're producing animal products. And then we can process those into other things. So right now, this is going to be more of a space saver than anything, because we're going to upgrade all these before we really commit to a final layout for our farm. But you can come in and inspect any of these and change what they're growing. So if you want the you know, the plot to look a little different. You know, cotton, potatoes, wheat, whoops. Or a greenhouse is another option. This is especially nice if you're doing something on a snowfall map. It doesn't really make sense to try and grow stuff outside in the snow, so you'll probably want to do greenhouses. But you can do a mixture of any of these buildings, and the fruit is the exact same way. It doesn't matter what fruit you choose. It's all based on the appearance. It's going to produce crops. Same thing over here. This one's going to produce animal products regardless of which animals you have in there. So you can have a mixture. You could have, you know, a massive sheep farm, a little bit of everything. Totally up to you kind of what you do with that. Now, if we jump back into the industries, we've also got the ability to store grain. So this one will store crops, basically so that you can store more of those for your other processing buildings. And we'll unlock those processing buildings kind of as we go, as we get through here. But we don't have any of that unlocked. We've got to produce units and get people working here first and foremost. So let's just make sure that, one, it has water. And two, that it has power. So we'll bring power up from this zone for now. And if we want to meet some of that industrial demand, we could just fill this back in, have some farms, move into our strip until we really get this zoned out properly. But let's go ahead and hit play at 3 times speed. Make sure those problems are okay. And you'll notice it doesn't have any resources right now because animals haven't moved in yet. But they should. Or I take it back. No, they do have a resource problem. Your crops go to feeding the animals, which then produce animal products. I forgot about that part. So this one is dependent on producing something here. So as soon as these produce something, you'll see a truck drive from here to over here, or even import stuff from the outside world. And now that we've got crops, we can start feeding the animals. Our park has leveled up. The only thing it gave us was gazebos. But let's go ahead and drop in some gazebos. And maybe come up with a reason to say the word gazebos a few more times. Gazebos. So yeah, we'll drop it just a couple of these in just for fun. We'll put one in over by Creative Arts. Oh no, that's the community school. Never mind. But that's a ton of stuff for today. I mean, it's a pretty small start. And I'm not going to commit, again, too much to the layout of this until we unlock the larger buildings. And then we can really frame out the roads accordingly and really try and max out some of the space over here. We'll build kind of a massive farm operation over here. And do we have a good spot for forestry in this 9-tile map? Let's see. That's actually not bad up there. That would be okay over there. We might even be able to get away across the water. But if we do a 9-square tile, you know, we could do one of these as a forestry industry area, and I think still reserve plenty of space for the rest of the build. But the nice thing about forestry is you can make a forestry area anywhere you want. If we go to resources, you'll notice that this is not anything. This is not farming, forestry, or oil. There's nothing here. If you paint down a bunch of trees, and that's not really a bunch, but just for an example's sake, you'll notice that it starts to turn the ground green, and that becomes accessible to forestry. So we crank up our brush and really saturate that area right there. Now we can turn that into a nice green forestry area. Probably should have saved it before I waste all that money on those trees, but it's a little late for that now. Hey, you didn't think we were going to get through an episode without a fire, did you? That's actually not a bad one. They got 4 trucks responding to that. Thank you so much. Okay. You guys just going to leave that going in the backyard just in case? You guys want to come out again? Come on. Put the bush out. We need a helicopter service for that, for a bush that's 5 feet away from a building. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more than that, but come on. Killing me here. Hopefully you're enjoying this series so far. Hopefully you had a great week and an even better weekend if you're watching this on Friday, or hopefully you're just having a good day whenever you are catching up on this. Either way, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, which you probably did if you made it this far, Please hit the like button, comment, share. All those things are great for the channel, and they are greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you're new and consider hitting the bell to get notifications for updates in this and other series. Join the Discord if you've got any questions. There's a great community, fans of cities, fans of the channel, and regardless of what platform you're on, PC, Xbox, PS4, even the Switch, there's somebody over there that's been through what you're going through and can help you out. So come on by there, ask questions. It's the best place to do it because the answers don't just come from me, which is often what you get if you just leave a question in the comments down below. But I'm happy to try and get to those as best I can. But if you get stuck, join the Discord. It's a really great community. If you'd like to support the channel, links to that and all those other things are in the description down below. But until the next one, when I think we're going to get to trams, but never mind, I didn't say anything. Until then, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.